right here. Employment law. So a couple of things to consider. Employment law will cover different areas within that section. Recruitment. There are specific laws on how you can recruit staff. Particularly, and this will make sense, things like discrimination. And that is why every job posting has a little disclaimer: we do not discriminate, we promote diversity, things like that. It's the law. Minimum pay. Right. In some countries, especially in Europe, you'll have high minimum pay for staff. Working conditions. Which is linked to HNS here. Health and safety. Harassment in the workplace. And then what's called redundancy provisions. Now, redundancy meaning getting fired. Okay. Which brings us to the next point. Termination of employment. So this is fired or quit. Termination. And usually that's where the bone of contention is, when you have a legal case and the employee goes to court with the employer or vice versa. It's usually about the termination in most cases. And for the BT exam, you need to know about 2 vocabulary terms in terms of termination. There is what's called wrongful dismissal. And then there is what's called unfair dismissal. So what's the difference between the two here? It's kind of not clear. So here we could say employer, the boss, clearly breached the contract, broke the contract. He fired him when he shouldn't have. He fired him because the employee had an accident, and now the employer doesn't want to pay some kind of insurance for him, so he just fires him. Well, that would be directly wrongful dismissal. The point here is it's clearly identified why. Because the second one is not clear why. That's the point here. So they say employer doesn't say why. Or it's not clear. Now, the way they say in the vocabulary, if we look at it very formally, they say the onus is on the employer to prove he was right. unfair dismissal. Right, and the onus means it's on his shoulder, his responsibility to prove, but he didn't. So somebody got fired, or the employee got fired. The employer didn't give a clear reason. So this is unfair dismissal. Wrongful dismissal, there's a clearly defined reason, but it's in breach of the contract. So as you can imagine, employment law is very important for an employer. It's very important to know about this and obey it for companies, right? And it will be your job as an accountant to help employers deal with these problems. Okay, number 2.